Are you gonna catch the Kiss tour before they
Oh, dude, I actually saw Kiss like 3 times in the last like 5 years by
Holy
accident.
crap,
wow.
Like, yeah. I
just know one song. I just know that one song.
Oh, you're not a fan, Harry?
Well,
I grew up so much on that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
When I lived in El Paso, Texas, I grew up in El Paso for most of my life. I just recently moved to the East Coast, but I caught them in Albuquerque, and I got to be close enough that when Paul Stanley did the thing where he flies across the stage, I was able to reach up and like tap his boot.
Oh wow!
And I was like,
nice.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
like victory. Like,
I was gonna say I got to see Kiss on their Psycho Circus tour,
oh,
and
rad.
I got to see them at the Boston Garden, and they played with Aerosmith. So as a Bostonian, it was like you couldn't be more perfect, you know.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
to see
really.
Kiss, and of all the people that opened, Aerosmith. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's
many-
funny that Aerosmith opened for them. That's crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They're both on their last tours, right? Even Aerosmith.
For the
They-
80th time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll catch them on the next farewell tour.
I always loved how Kiss though mixed with comics so well too, like down to their like personas and like wasn't Gene Simmons like Wings? Wasn't that like taken right from Black Bolt?
Yes,
And-
dude,
yeah.
from Jacker. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
actually
that's
just
what I
reading
thought,
a
like-
Wizard magazine interview where he talked about that a few days ago.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that stuff. I know he loves comics, and I love like was it the Marvel put out that magazine where they mix their blood with the ink and all that. That stuff's cool.
That's wild because that's also like a legendary story, like Ozzy biting the head off of a bat. You know,
Yeah.
like the blood in the ink of a comic it's like in the same vein of like this like mythical rock star story, but that's actually true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's when I was like, when I was like at that age where McFarlane Toys was putting out those Psycho Circus
Yeah, I
action
remember
figures
those,
based
yeah.
on the like comics. And I forget the man, who was he? He's done a bunch of Venom and Carnage runs. Name starts with a C. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he was doing the art for them at the time. And now he's like a super famous like Marvel artist, and I was like, man, I've been following this guy since he was doing Kiss comics. Like, that's insane. But I have a giant Kiss compendium of all their comic books, and it's the heaviest omnibus I own.
Oh, nice.
It's insane. Yeah, one day I'll read it. I haven't
How
read
many
it.
Kiss products were on sale at these concerts? Like a zillion.
Right, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, just
Yeah.
the merch booth was like just as large as the stage, practically. You know what I mean? Like,
My wife's asking if you got charged money for touching the boot.
I
Probably.
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, someone comes to charge $5 for.
It's funny because I think recently they sold Kiss as an IP, right? So
Yeah.
like some company now owns everything Kiss.
Yep.
So like expect to see commercials and like just Kiss and like where you think Gene Simmons couldn't penetrate the media, it's gonna happen now. And it's
Yep.
gonna happen ferociously. And another little quick connection I wanted to make is what's the common denominator here between Kiss, comics, and our good friend from last episode with Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, breaking boundaries. Yeah, breaking the
Colorful
boundaries of
characters.
comics. What was the common denominator there? But licensing and merchandising.
Yeah,
Straight up.
absolutely.
You know what I
Straight
mean?
up.
And
Well,
that's
That's what Gene
up here in
took,
New England. Sorry,
yeah, that's what Gene took advantage of all that. You know,
yeah, man.
Dr. Mass said he's been going to Kiss shows with a friend since 1983. Lots of shows. Yeah, there's a lot of Kiss fans out there. I
wonder why
I enjoy their music.
Didn't sue Kiss 108 up here. We had that radio channel or station up here. I wonder why they didn't sue them for that name. You know?
Yeah,
Kiss 108
right.
is-
Yeah, Gene used to sue everybody.
Sure.
There was a quick aside before we get on with the interview. You ever see that comedian? Was it is it Craig Gass that does
I
the
think, yeah.
imitation of
He's awesome. He's like
he does an imitation of Gene Simmons, and it's
He
so
sounds
damn funny.
just like him. Yeah.
And he was telling
Yeah,
this
to do
story about how he was on like a Kiss. They do a Kiss cruise where all
Yeah.
the fans could go on the cruise, and he got on the loudspeaker. And the funniest thing he said, he was like, "Hello, everybody. This is Gene Simmons from Kiss." You know, like they didn't know who he was. Like, it's so funny. But what were you gonna say, Johnny?
So the only Gene Simmons story that I have, like, in my orbit and proximity, I could tell is that I used to intern for a radio station, and Gene Simmons came into the studio,
Oh, wow.
and he confused one of the actual radio hosts as the intern. So he tried getting this guy to go get a blueberry muffin. And he was just so like, I'm Gene Simmons and everybody else is just everybody else.
Yeah.
That he's just like asking the radio host for a blueberry muffin. It was just very funny.
Did he get
That's
it?
right.
Or-
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I saw him at Wallace, where I used to do the Plastic City Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
Back when they
Oh,
used to do
really?
Concerts back in like the
My-
mid-90s.
My second ever concert was Foo Fighters at that venue at the Wallace Civic Center. Fun time to dust off an old story. I was in high school. I went to go see Foo Fighters that night.
Yeah.
Wallace Civic Center is a very small place. So we used to do that load-in, Keith, in the back.
Yeah.
After the concert, I went around back with my friends because we wanted to meet Dave Grohl and we wanted to meet Foo Fighters and
Okay.
we wanted to meet the drummer from Nirvana.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I left my parents out front waiting for me, who were picking me up on a school night. My angry Italian mom. So wait, let me rewind. We're waiting around back, and it's getting late, and we're waiting for Dave Grohl and the band and stuff. And finally, they came through, and I'm waiting in line for my autograph. And just as Dave Grohl's getting to me and he's signing my autograph, my mom comes fucking like a mad bull from around the back, from where the parking lot is, around to the back, and starts yelling at me in Italian in front of
With
Dave
a
Grohl.
rolling pin. Like,
Pretty much.
Johnny!
We're like very short. We're very shy away from the rolling pin. All right. So I'm mortified because here I am getting reprimanded by my mom in front of Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl very calmly and plainly just looks up at my mom and responds to her in
Mi
Italian.
dispiace tanto di aver tenuto tuo figlio fuori fino a tardi in un giorno feriale, ma grazie mille per averlo lasciato venire allo spettacolo.
I'm so sorry for keeping your son out late on a weeknight, but thank you very much for letting him come to the show. And I was in shock because he actually replied to her in her native tongue. And
Holy
she was
crap.
like, well, you better have it on a weekend next time. and she pulled me out of there. It was just wild.
Italian
That's my-
mothers, they don't give a shit about like celebrity,
So-
nothing.
Yeah, so my mom yelled at Dave Grohl. And that's my story.
That's